into orbit. Tehran is also believed to have coveted Russian Su-35 fighter aircraft and S-400 air defense missile systems, but it's unclear whether it ever received these. One of the clearest signs that the alliance is more nuanced now is when Russia stood back during heightened tensions between Iran and Israel and amid US and Israeli airstrikes on Iranian nuclear facilities last summer. 9 months after US strikes, the possibility of another military attack is looming again in Iran. Russia is monitoring the situation closely. The prospect of another ally falling in the West Asia region will be a worrying one for Moscow, this particularly after it has seen its alliances with Venezuela, Syria, and the Caucasus appended recently, denting its power and influence abroad. White House envoy Steve Witkoff and U.S. President Donald Trump's son-in-law, Jared Kushner, are seeking to travel to Moscow to meet Russian President Putin, though the topic of discussion will be Ukraine war. Putin would like to pass a word to Trump through U.S. President's top aide. While Russia has cautioned the United States over attacking Iran, it has said that the threats of new military strikes on Iran are categorically unacceptable. Moscow has slammed Washington in what it calls a subversive external interference in Tehran's internal politics. The Russian Foreign Ministry says the U.S. must be aware of disastrous consequences for the current situation in the West Asia and global international security. In its statement, Russia says, and I quote, "Those who plan to use externally inspired unrest as a pretext for repeating the aggression against Iran committed in June 2025 must be aware of the disastrous consequences of such actions for the situation in the Middle East and global international security." This is a statement from Russia. Professor Kuznik, thank you for staying with us. And I think Russia has just echoed what you were just saying to us, that a lot could go wrong if United States did decide to move in Iran militarily. But let's move away from that and let's talk about the turning point for Iran. What is the turning point for Iran for you, considering now that Israel is holding a cabinet meeting to discuss what is going on in Iran, and Iran has already condemned the United States and Tel Aviv?
Netanyahu came to Mar-a-Lago to meet with Trump at the end of 2025, and he urged Trump to conduct military strikes against Iran. There's a lot of information that Mossad has been actively involved in egging on the demonstrators, but the demonstrators don't seem to need a lot of outside encouragement. Conditions in Iran are the worst economically, and they've been probably since the start of the Islamic Republic in 1979. So the situation is very shaky there. The government is not stable. The demonstrations are continuing, although they might have, according to some intelligence, been somewhat reduced in the last day or two. But there have been a lot of people getting arrested and being killed on both sides in this fighting. So you've got desperate people. You've got a shaky and somewhat desperate government relying on lethal force to suppress the demonstrators. They are also trying to give certain benefits, especially to poorer Iranians. But we have not seen the Bazaris so actively involved before. We haven't seen this number of students, of the technocrats. The middle class is joining with the poorer people in rising up, because they don't know where their food's going to come from. They don't know where they're going to be able to, how they're going to be able to pay the rent. There's a water shortage. It's a very, very unstable situation. I'm not sure what Putin thinks he's going to be able to do to help right now, but the more threats on both sides, the more dangerous the world becomes.
All right. We'll have to wait and see, because in so many hours and in so many days, the situation could unfold and could change. for the worse. But let's hope that that doesn't happen. Professor Peter Kuznick, it's good to see you. We'll have to end it there. Thank you.
Always good to see you.
And this is the latest from Saudi Arabia. It concerns Iran, and Saudi Arabia has told Iran that its territory and airspace will not be used for any military strike against Tehran. The move from Riyadh comes in the backdrop of Trump's warning of possible military action against Iran following a government crackdown on protests. According to reports, Riyadh has directly communicated its position to Tehran, making it clear that it does not want to be drawn into any conflict. The development comes as Iran has warned it would retaliate by striking U.S. allies and military bases if attacked. The United States maintains significant military assets in the Gulf, including deployments in Saudi Arabia and Qatar. A few hours ago, the United States withdrew some personnel from key bases in the region as a precaution given heightened regional tensions. Arab leaders, however, have advised Washington against any military action on Iran. So this is the latest coming in from Saudi Arabia, and Saudi Arabia has denounced America from using its airspace for attacking Iran. And the move from Riyadh comes in the backdrop of Trump's warning of possible military action against Iran following a government crackdown on protests. Now, according to reports, Riyadh has directly communicated its position to Tehran, making it clear that it does not want to be drawn into any conflict. As the United States readies for a possible military attack on Iran, Russia has urged its ally to keep the doors open for dialogue. Moscow has vowed to continue work with Tehran despite threats of military action and economic pressure from President Donald Trump. Russia has cautioned the United States against attacking Iran. It says the consequences would be disastrous. It has accused the United States of smashing world around, first with its raid on Venezuela and now with threats to Iran. In a strongly worded message, Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov stressed that no third party can change the nature of Moscow-Tehran relations.
Certainly, when the US starts acting in ways that neglect the very rules Americans themselves promoted, it suggests that our US colleagues appear unreliable when they behave in such a manner. We simply need to work and to implement the agreements achieved between Russia and Iran, as well as all other economical partners. When such a powerful country like US acts by these dirtier methods, it means only one thing: the US competitive position is steadily worsening.
A shared anti-Western ideology has been a bonding factor for Russia and Iran. Both nations, heavily sanctioned by the West, challenge the US-led global system, promote multilateralism through BRICS and SCO. The strong ties between Moscow and Tehran emerge from a mutual need. Iran is one of the few international partners that Russia relies on for military hardware help since Ukraine war in 2022. According to the West, Iran supplies Russia with Shahed attack drones and missiles, ammunition, and artillery for use in the war. Iran has reportedly sold nearly $3 billion worth of missiles to Russia in the past 4 years. The purchases have included hundreds of Fateh 360 short-range ballistic missiles, nearly 500 other short-range ballistic missiles, and approximately 200 surface-to-air missiles associated with anti-aircraft defense systems. Though Tehran admits it supplied drones to Russia, but says it did so before the war. Moscow has also not acknowledged the purchase of Iranian missiles. Western intelligence says that in return, Tehran has received military technology and intelligence from Moscow, as well as funding for its space and missile programs. In December last year, Russia sent 3 Iranian communication satellites into orbit. In July, a Russian rocket sent Iranian communication satellite Nahed-2 into orbit. Tehran is also believed to have coveted Russian Su-35 fighter aircraft and S-400 air defense missile systems, but it's unclear whether it ever received these. One of the clearest signs that the alliance is more nuanced now is when Russia stood back during heightened tensions between Iran and Israel and amid US and Israeli airstrikes on Iranian nuclear facilities last summer. 9 months after US strikes, the possibility of another military attack is looming again in Iran. Russia is monitoring the situation closely. The prospect of another ally falling in the West Asia region will be a worrying one for Moscow, this particularly after it has seen its alliances with Venezuela, Syria, and the Caucasus appended recently, denting its power and influence abroad. White House envoy Steve Witkoff and U.S. President Donald Trump's son-in-law, Jared Kushner, are seeking to travel to Moscow to meet Russian President Putin. Though the topic of discussion will be Ukraine war, Putin would like to pass a word to Trump through U.S. President's top aide. But Russia